All right. Welcome back. It's Thursday night, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time to talk about TV and comics and geeky stuff. And we got two shows that were on a short hiatus this week due to the presidential election coverage. And that means that we've got Arrow to talk about and also Doctor Strange, because people have been asking me about that too. And let's say that for last, actually. Um, Before I get started, once again, this is the spoiler warning. Uh, Please try to be respectful of people who don't like to be spoiled. Don't don't like post things that you've heard that are coming up. Keep that out of the chat room. If I talk about spoilery type stuff, I will issue a spoiler warning. So anyone who wants to mute the sound on their computers can do so. But try to keep it out of the chat room, please. And that goes for wrestling stuff too. No spoilers. So yeah, let's get started. Arrow. Arrow, Season 5, Episode 6, So It Begins. So Prometheus is killing seemingly random people in the city, which Oliver chooses not to tell the team about until he needs them for riot control, which I guess puts them in the need-to-know category, finally. They find out that Prometheus's targets are all on Oliver's father's list, which gives them a list of people to shadow. Artemis finds Prometheus while following some dude on the subway. She fights him briefly. Oliver saves her ass, and that helps her get over being angry at Oliver about him not telling the team various things. Also, Quentin might be Prometheus. So there's that. Okay, first thing. My big complaint about this episode. There's a subplot about Felicity having to go to her detective boyfriend and steal evidence from him so she could analyze it and try to get a clue about Prometheus. Now, I wouldn't have thought twice about this if there hadn't been a subplot in an episode just a couple of weeks ago that involved Felicity giving evidence to her detective boyfriend because she couldn't analyze it. Can she analyze evidence or not? Just pick one and be consistent with it. And by the way, if the team needed help analyzing evidence, why didn't they just call Barry and ask him for help? This is literally his job. I don't know. My other complaint. Okay, Felicity watches all this drama unfold because of people not being honest with the people around them and whatnot. So she decides to tell her detective boyfriend that she works with the Green Arrow. You know, of all the things that she could have told him, that was really the wrong thing. Green Arrow may be regarded as a hero who's trying to help the city for the moment, but the police department knows that he's killed people. At the very least, they'd want to bring him in for questioning if they caught him. And, you know, him being able to enter crime scenes and talk with detectives and stuff, that's... Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Maybe the guy knows he couldn't stop him and get cuffs on him if he tried, but still, it's publicly known that this guy has killed people. The cops are going to want to have a few words with this guy, even if he is regarded as one of the good guys. You know, what if public opinion turns on him? What if somebody frames him for a crime that he didn't commit or something? Now Felicity's detective boyfriend could use Felicity as a way to get to Green Arrow. It just seems to me that this is only going to create more problems, and someone as smart as Felicity should have known that. The fact that he was apparently cool with the whole thing instead of being furious and suspicious like an honest cop should have been doesn't change that. But as for everything else, at first I thought this episode was going to piss me off. Because at first, it looked like it was going to be another installment that just retreads over stuff that we've been over multiple times. Oliver's being a killer is causing problems. Again, people are taking issue with it. Again. But then it changes. Because the episode isn't really about Oliver being a killer. The issue comes up, but it's done to point out how killing used to be his first resort and now it's his last resort. Now his actions from a couple of years ago, when he was a different person, still come back to haunt him and cause friction with people like we saw here, but it was done to illustrate how he's changed. Now sure, we remain in very familiar territory here because the killing thing has been covered ad nauseum in the past, including several times already this season. But I'm going to give it a pass this time because it looked like they were trying to use it to develop a character rather than keep him stuck in the same place. Now, speaking of developing characters, there was actually a healthy dose of that this week. Wild Dog goes on a mission and he actually follows orders this time. Yeah, the team is pissed about Oliver keeping secrets from them and you're not keeping them in the loop again, but they don't act like bitches and take off. They're understandably upset. They talk about it amongst themselves. Then they come back, they table it for the time being, and they get on with the business of saving lives. Oliver keeps the team in the dark again, which, by the way, is really stupid in this case, because not telling them about Prometheus could be even more dangerous than telling them would. You don't want them involved? Dude, they're already involved just by being on your team. Fucking tell them. But then he realizes that he needs them, and he comes clean. It felt like there was some genuine progress being made here. Also, we get some focus on Artemis and flesh her out a little bit, finally, and she comes off as a lot less frustrating of a character than Renee did it in the first few episodes. She gets pissed at Oliver, with good reason, but then they resolve things, and it doesn't come off like this is going to be something they constantly have to come back to for weeks on end. And then there's the twist at the end. Quentin might somehow be Prometheus. Shocking? Yeah, definitely. I don't entirely buy it, though. Okay, first of all, they're playing it like he might not necessarily be in his right mind, like might not even know he's doing it somehow. Even so, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Quentin ever knew about Oliver's list. So how would he know the people on it? This smells like a red herring to me. Like they're trying to divert our attention from somebody else. I do like the twist a lot, though. Like maybe he's being manipulated by someone behind the scenes. This is something new for Quentin. So it's something for him to do that doesn't involve his family or getting drunk. So it's new territory for him, and I like that. And there's some cool things they could do with this. Speaking of the list, though, why did this list of powerful, corrupt people in the city that Oliver's dad was keeping track of have an ordinary housewife and a subway worker on it? I'm just wondering. Those seemed like kind of strange people to be on the list. However, minus some things with Felicity that bugged me this week, this was a really good episode. Doing away with church and focusing more on Prometheus really helps to push the narrative forward in some kind of direction, whereas before it didn't really feel like they had one just yet. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going on with Quentin. So I like that twist a lot. So, good stuff from Arrow this week. Good stuff. Alrighty. I'm hoping that Artemis gets a costume like the one she had in Young Justice, really not liking the one she has now. Well, it's not really a costume, it's like street clothes that have been repurposed. Like, really, none of them have costumes, except maybe Ragman, I guess. I'm thinking, like, maybe they'll get one, like, around the season finale, maybe. Kind of like what Roy did. I mean, Roy was training was training for most of season 2 before he even got a mask, and then he didn't get a costume until season 3. So maybe it'll be like that. I would like to see some costumes though, because they look kind of low rent right now. So yeah, I agree with that. So Prometheus is apparently Quentin. They have gone so far adrift with this character I can barely describe it. My best guess is this isn't Prometheus and is Quentin, but being manipulated by the real one, whom I can only assume and hope is the resurrected Tommy. Yeah, I don't think this is Quentin. I think this is a red herring. Um, I think he could be manipulated somehow. This could we or somebody's pulling his strings. They want us to think it's Quentin, which makes me think it's somebody else. Um, I say Prometheus is Tommy. The Lance thing makes no sense. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Tommy too. Um, Although that would come with its own problems because Tommy was the first real meaningful death in the show, and it has lasting impact to this day. And to resurrect him like that, it would kind of cheapen that death. So I don't know how I'd feel about that. I am kind of leaning towards Tommy though. Um, it took Oliver a long time to share his past with the people he learned to trust, namely his old team. And here the newbies are like, "Oh, hey, you got to tell us everything." Well, I think mainly they were pissed off about. Well, I think they weren't really pissed about him not telling them what happened before the island, though. They were pissed about them not knowing who he was. Not telling them that he was like the Hood, the vigilante, the cold-blooded killer, because that person and the Green Arrow were supposed to be different people. Um, and the Green Arrow was supposed to be like a symbol of hope or whatever, and the Hood wasn't really like that. He was regarded as like a serial killer. So not knowing that Oliver was that guy, I can understand why him keeping them in the dark about that would piss them off. Let's see, any other explanation is insane, and moreover, any other answer is so far from the comic archetype as to be a separate character entirely. Yeah, unless they really pull a rabbit out of the hat, this version of Prometheus feels like an entirely new creation because he bears like no resemblance to the comics at this point. I don't even read the comics with Prometheus in them, and I know that much. Because really, what I know about Prometheus is limited to what I've seen in Linkara's videos, and already I know they're way off base with this guy. So I'm guessing he's like a completely new creation. I have no idea why they're upset that Arrow killed people. He killed terrorists who planned to nuke the city. Boo hoo. Yeah. Um, yeah, I can understand them being pissed about the secret itself, but not about the killing so much. I mean, like he said, they knew he was a killer already. Um, so I'm not sure why him killing bad people that they didn't know about was going to make them so angry. To his credit, Renee seemed kind of okay with it. He was actually the most mellow about this, surprisingly enough. Um, and I sort of got Artemis's reasoning. She looked up to him as like she bought into that symbol of hope stuff, and killing only as a last resort, blah blah blah. So finding out that he was the Hood who would kill at as a first resort, probably I can see why that would upset her. Um, but again, they didn't make a huge deal of it. It was an issue. They resolve it by the end of the episode and they move on. It's all right. Let's see. Prometheus is killing innocents. Arrow killed mercenaries, psychopaths, and terrorists. Huge difference. Well, okay. Prometheus did kill cops, yeah. Um, but he's also killing, criminals. He killed a church, and he's killing people on the list who, as we've been led to believe, are bad people, even though they seemed pretty harmless in this episode for some reason. But yeah, still, yeah, big difference. Oliver didn't kill every person he crossed off the list, like Adam Hunt, who was in the pilot. Bad guy, he just stole all of his money and gave it to all the people he screwed over. Yeah, he could have mentioned that part. Not sure why he didn't, actually. But Adam Hunt was later killed by Malcolm Merlin. Yeah, exactly. All this about killing as a last resort is absurd. I know the writers don't get this, but the way he regularly shoots people with arrows would at best be crippling and, or at worst, be fatal every episode. Yeah, I think I think we're citing comic book logic on that one. I guess we're meant to believe that Oliver's a good enough shot that he would miss anything vital. He could take them down with an arrow without causing serious injury somehow. I'm willing to give them that much. There is a reason arrows used to be the deadliest weapons in the battlefield for thousands of years before guns were invented. The housewife and subway worker weren't on the list. Prometheus was killing people with their names, not the actual people on the list. Is that how it worked? I don't know. I was unclear on that. I thought there were. Um, no, didn't they take the names off the list and do like the anagram search for whoever would match up with that? Some I don't know. I don't know. You got me on that one. I thought those were people on the list. Guess I need to pay closer attention. Let's see. Could there be multiple Prometheuses? Charlie from Emergency Awesome theorized that. Wouldn't surprise me, actually. Looks like the Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends 4-night crossover is going to happen in 3 weeks. Yay. Well, I'll probably only be watching 2 parts of that. uh, Imagine this. Prometheus is just his brainwashed servant, and the real one is the one from the comics. Okay. Suppose I could accept that. Kill off Felicity. She is a hypocrite. Well, yeah. Due to some of her behavior last season, she is kind of a hypocrite. Kill her off? Not a chance. Don't hold your breath, guys. They're not killing Felicity. She's way too popular. They'd be insane to do it, quite frankly. And the producers love her to death, so it's not happening. The only way that happens is if they're at the end of the series and they know they're getting canceled anyway. Yeah, this week on LOT, the heroes go to the 80s, almost start a nuclear war after almost assassinating Reagan, and Adam becomes the new Captain Cold. And I bet it doesn't affect the present or the future in any way, shape, or form, right? Just like on The Flash. Oh, wait, it works completely differently on The Flash. Whatever, I don't care. I don't watch this show anymore. In case anyone cares. Crickets. Yeah. Okay. So that was Arrow. Good episode, few nitpicks aside. So, Doctor Strange. You guys asked me about Doctor Strange during the Impact stream, I think, last week. I didn't want to talk about it then. Wanted to give people time to see the movie. I may spoil a couple things about Doctor Strange here, so this is your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Doctor Strange yet, if you don't want to be spoiled, hit the mute button right now. Okay. All right, short version. I really liked it. I think it suffers from the same problem that a lot of the Marvel movies seem to have, in that the villain is kind of one-dimensional, and he's just this kind of generic, I want to rule the world or destroy the world or enslave all of mankind because #evil and all that. Now Mads Mikkelsen's character, which I thought was like, I thought he was playing Dormammu, but he's not. He's playing somebody else. He's a little bit more complex. I think he sort of believes that he's doing the right thing, sort of. I mean, he's twisted it and corrupted it all, but he's a little bit more than just the generically evil guy. And I did like what they did with Baron Mordo. looks like he could be the Loki of this particular franchise, who starts out as an ally, as a friend, but then becomes something else over time, and because he develops into something else because that's it's an arc for him. He's not just evil for the sake of evil. It's actually he has reasons and he's conflicted about it. So I like what they did with him a lot. Um, so there's another potential Loki there. That's good. Otherwise, about the movie itself, really good. I think it's worth seeing just for the visuals alone, because this is like Inception on like steroids, like Inception times 10 or something like that. It is very very trippy stuff. And I'm trust me, I've become a pretty jaded movie viewer where visuals really don't impress me anymore, and you got to do something really creative and just really just like new and inventive, to impress me and get my attention. This got my attention. This was really fucking cool. I did not see it in 3D. I refuse to see. I refuse to go to 3D movies. I can't stand 3D. I want it to go away. But if there's a movie that you want to see in 3D, this is one of them, probably, because I heard the 3D was really cool. And that's from a reviewer that hates 3D. So that was good. Cast uniformly strong, great cast here. Benedict Cumberbatch, they couldn't have cast this role any better. He is Doctor Strange. It's like how Tony Stark, when they cast Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, like he just walked off the comic page. It's like that. He is Doctor Strange. He looks like him. He fucking acts like him. I said this is about as perfect as casting could get, and he's fucking great too. The cast is everyone else is great. It's a great cast. I know the Tilda Swinton thing, her playing the Ancient One, was kind of awkward. But can we just put that to rest? They cast her as the Ancient One because if they'd gone with a Tibetan actor, they wouldn't have been able to play the movie in China. So the casting of Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One had nothing to do with racism and everything to do with money. All right? Yeah, they took the safe route. They could have gone with an Asian actor, I guess, but that's the reason that they didn't go with a Tibetan actor. All right? Yeah, they took the safe route, but I can forgive them that because the rest of the movie is so enjoyable. And let us not forget, they also race-bent Baron Mordo into a black man, white character in the comics. All right, Marvel is not racist. Can we just put that to rest already? So aside from the bad guy problem, if there's one other issue, is that there's a lot of telling and not as much showing as I would like, because at times the movie is very exposition heavy. There's a lot of scenes where things are getting explained to Doctor Strange, and where I was like, is there a way they could have shown this visually instead of just telling us about it? But overall, I mean, that's not something that's going to really hurt the movie. I still really enjoyed myself. Like I said, great visuals. Action is solid. Also, it's a lot funnier than I thought it would be. I did not expect there to be this many laughs. There's a lot of funny lines. My favorite part of the whole movie is the scene in the broom closet. You probably know which one I'm talking about. Like I said, I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but there's a scene in the broom closet where a broom falls over and it scares the shit out of us. All right, I already gave the spoiler warning. All right, the scene in the hospital broom closet where Doctor Strange opens a portal and he walks through it, and Rachel McAdams turns around like, "Holy shit! I can't believe that just happened. What the fuck is going on?" And then a broom falls over and it scares the shit out of her. She jumps out of her pants like ah! Oh, fuck. Oh, this is the funniest fucking moment of the whole movie. You got all this crazy Inception shit going on. That was my favorite part of the movie, a stupid gag with a broom falling over. I just laughed so fucking hard. There's a lot of funny stuff in this movie. I was really surprised by it. Um, so yeah, it's like I said, a little bit exposition heavy. Overall, the script is really good. The cast is great. The acting is great. Benedict Cumberbatch is awesome. Um, this was another case of like Guardians of the Galaxy where they took a lesser known property and one that I've never really been interested in the comics, and they made a really fucking cool movie out of it. I've really enjoyed this movie. I would recommend it. I think I like this more than some of the other Marvel movies. I don't know where I'd rate it in a scale of best to worst, but I liked it probably better than the Thor movies, better than the first Captain America. Uh, Doctor Strange is really good. Marvel did it again. I'm looking forward to the sequel. Okay, let's see. Will Doctor Strange find Wasp from the subatomic dimension and save her? I was trying to make a connection between Strange's powers and abilities with the Ant-Man subplot about Wasp's disappearance. I would suspect no. I think if they do rescue Janet Van Dyne, it'll be in the Ant-Man movies. I don't think the subatomic thing is a different dimension. It's I'm not sure how to explain that. It might be like small enough to be considered like a pocket universe or something like that. But I don't think it's like it's on another plane of existence or anything. No, that's no. I would suspect not. I think they'll kind of keep those things separate. That's not something. I don't think that's something you can access with magic. That's a technology thing. Let's see. I like Doctor Strange. The only complaint I have with it is I wish they'd explained why Hydra was keeping an eye on him in Winter Soldier. Oh, fuck! Yes! I noticed that too. I forgot to mention that. Okay, in Winter Soldier, when they were questioning, what's his face? One of the Hydra moles. Cap and Falcon and Black Widow. They capture this guy. He's the guy that jumped off the roof. That guy. Forgot his name. But he said Hydra had a list of people they were keeping an eye on. Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat to Hydra. So he mentioned Stephen Strange there. So Doctor Strange was on the Hydra's watch list at that point of people who were potential threats. So I was under the impression that Doctor Strange already had his magical powers at that point. But this movie, which supposedly takes place after Civil War, is the origin. Where it starts off, he is not a sorcerer yet when this movie starts. So why was he on Hydra's watch list if he didn't have any magic at that point? The only explanation I can come up with is that they originally thought they were going to do. They were going to start the movie where he already has his magic and then flash back to how he got trained. And then somewhere along the line, something changed, and they just went with a different format for the movie. It's not a big deal, but it is something that I noticed. And it was kind of a sticking point. So yeah, thank you for reminding me about that, because I totally spaced on that just now. See, a lot of weird stuff in Strange was based on actual fringe science, such as the multiple parallel worlds thing. I think they were trying to go with the whole magic is just sufficiently advanced science thing with some of it. The guy they had playing Strange was dead on. I mean, it was like they went to Cool World and got the actual cartoon guy to bring to our world. Yeah, like I said, they couldn't have cast him any better. I mean, if you look like side-by-side comparisons, it looks like Doctor Strange just walked off the comic page into real life. That's how dead on he looks. That's one of the reasons why I wanted Benedict Cumberbatch for Doctor Strange. That's why he was my first choice. One of the reasons, because the guy just looks the part. In the Strange sequel, I want to see him team up with Scarlet Witch. I, I don't know if there's any reason to do that. I mean, I wouldn't say no to it, but I think the MCU version of Scarlet Witch has been changed enough so that it wouldn't really make sense. Because in the comics, it's sort of accepted that her powers are like quasi-magical at this point. I mean, they've changed over the years, but not now. She's like got chaos magic and shit, whatever that means. Um, but in the movies, she's just a telekinetic with like some powers of like mental manipulation or whatever. It's not really, she's not really magical in that sense. But like I said, I wouldn't say no to it because that'd be cool. Marvel is now 14-0 with their movies and 4-1 with their TV shows. Carter being the only fail, only having 18 episodes. Well, I would call Agent Carter probably a failure from a creative standpoint, not just from not only from having 18 episodes and then getting canceled, because I liked Agent Carter, but creatively the show ended up having a lot of problems and ended up being a bit of a disappointment in that aspect. Let's see. Every time I see Rachel McAdams, I think of Regina George. Yeah. I think of the girl from Wedding Crashers. I always wonder why she hasn't become more famous than she is. Because I've liked her in everything I've seen her in. She's gorgeous to boot, so I find it odd that she's not more famous. But hey, she's in a big hit movie now, so maybe this will mean bigger things for her. The whole movie, I was hearing her quotes from Mean Girls. The whole movie, it was glorious. Have to agree with my girlfriend. This Captain America 1 and Thor 1 were basically the best Marvel movies. Really? Captain America 1 and Thor 1 were the best Marvel movie? Really? Okay. That's the way you feel. I would respectfully disagree. I think Civil War and Winter Soldier would have been the best Marvel movies. Not that Cap 1 and Thor 1 were bad, because I liked Cap 1 a lot. Thor 1 is like, not a bad movie. The Thor movies are probably the ones that I have the most indifference towards. Not that I dislike them, I just, I think there are better Marvel movies out there. That's the thing about the subatomic universe, is that it basically is a separate world. Modern technology has discovered fucking crazy shit down there, and we've never gotten close to the real deal. My best guess is that magic users have magic at birth like wizards in Harry Potter. In fact, the Ancient One implied this, so did Benjamin Bratt's character. Did they? Yeah, I was under the impression that anyone could learn it. Yeah, maybe you noticed something I didn't there. If I remember right, the Hydra thing in Winter Soldier, they mentioned it was an algorithm that was capable of predicting future events, future threats. Oh, okay. So, the Widow asked, how would they know? And the guy replied, how would they not? Huh. An algorithm that could predict that Stephen Strange would become a sorcerer? Damn, that sounds useful. I guess I'd have to rewatch Winter Soldier again. It's been a while since I've seen it. Strange might have been S.H.I.E.L.D.'s go-to guy to patch up their agents. That would make sense. Yeah, possibly. But as we saw at the start of the movie, he was very, very selective about the cases that he took. And apparently he had enough renown as a neurosurgeon that he didn't have to take every case that came to him. He could kind of, just pick the cool ones, or the ones that were going to make him more famous or whatnot. It didn't really strike me as the kind of guy that would play ball with S.H.I.E.L.D., unless, they didn't give him a choice. And he did, rush to help that guy with the bullet in his head. So there were hints of the good man inside the arrogant jerkass even then. It's just I don't know. Yeah, maybe if there was a case that struck his fancy, shield agent with a weird injury, something like that. Yeah, possibly. Let's see. What do you think about all the announcements about the side characters for the Defenders? I'm excited about it. Now, I was wondering which members of the supporting cast were going to be in there. I think it's awesome that we're going to see Misty Knight in the Defenders. Of course, we knew about Claire, but we got Karen Page in there. I don't think they've mentioned Foggy yet, but I would assume he'd be in there too. But I love Karen Page. Love Deborah Ann Wall. She's my big TV crush. So that's awesome. I think they've got supporting characters from all three shows in there. We don't know about Iron Fist yet. I would assume there'd be some people from that show too. So it's looking like a really big cast, and I'm glad they're not forgetting about all those other people because there's some really cool characters in there. Um, how did his hands get injured and nothing else? Like I never got that. His spine, his eyes, his skull got injured, but his hands crushed. Huh? No, it wasn't just his hands. You saw him when he woke up in the hospital, right? I mean, he got fucked up. It's just that his hands got the worst of it. And I can understand that. Maybe the hands got crushed under something. Uh, I got it. They weren't incredibly specific with it, but I don't think they needed to be. It's just he got hurt in a car accident and his hands were injured the worst. Just don't need to put too fine a point on it. Um, Thoughts on the announcement that Young Justice is getting a season 3? Oh, I'm really fucking excited. I'm excited as hell. Young Justice was so fucking good. It's like that was one of those things where it's like, how in the blue fuck do you cancel a show like that? And yeah, the fans were really persistent, and they kept yelling at the studio to bring it back, and now it's coming back, and it's awesome. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the same crew back. I guess they got the producers back. Um, and hopefully they can reassemble the cast and everything. I mean, it'll be a while before we see anything because they gotta write scripts and animate everything. So it'll probably be like a year before we see. At least 6 months to a year before we see anything. But I'm excited. Maybe they can pick up where they left off, and maybe hopefully they can bring Wally back because I thought it was I was pissed off when they killed him in the season 2 finale. So they can resolve that hopefully. I'm excited, man. It's a great show, and it always pisses me off when great shows I love get canceled early because that's happened to me a lot. Uh, it's but great news. Uh, have you seen the Logan trailer? Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not terribly excited about it just because I haven't been enamored with the Logan solo movies. X-Men Origins Wolverine was terrible. The Wolverine was good. I wasn't in love with it though. It looks like they're taking the opposite approach, like going for like a smaller character piece here, which is probably a good idea at this point. Um, I don't know how they're going. Apparently, it takes place in the future because they're doing Old Man Logan, so I don't know how they're going to explain how Xavier's still alive. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do with X-23 because that might be cool. Um, I'll go see it. Uh, maybe I'm not like super anticipating it or anything, but I'll go see it. See, Young Justice is coming back. Finally, Miss Martian's rack returns. I mean, Young Justice returns. Uh, uh, Miss Martian, really? All right. Thought Satana was hotter personally, but whatever does it for you. DC and Marvel comics are incredibly shit right now. as opposed to the movies. They're so PC, it's like they were written by Amy Schumer. I don't know Amy Schumer to be PC at all. If anything, she's very not PC. Um, but yeah, I'm not a DC Comics guy in the first place. Their continuity is impossible to follow. Um, I'm not even sure which friggin' universe or reboot or whatever they're in anymore. Is it New 52? Is it pre New 52? Is it pre New 52 but with New 52 changes worked into it? Who the hell knows? Um, and Marvel is. I'm not sure what's going on with Marvel right now. But the comics are turning into something that I don't recognize. Uh, I don't like what they're doing with the X-Men. Apparently, the X-Men mutants are on the brink of extinction again. It's like, didn't we do this with House of M? It's like it's the same fucking thing over again. Uh, so I mean, the X-Men used to be the big title that I get all the time. Yeah, I was like huge into X-Men. And I still am. I'm just not getting the comics currently. Uh, it's the yeah. I still follow what's going on. I'm just not getting the comics. Dreamwave. I vaguely remember Dreamwave. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump winning the election, and are you considering moving to Canada? Well, if you saw my tweets on Tuesday night, you probably know my answer to that because I had some fun joking around about that. Thoughts on Donald Trump? Oh boy, that is a whole other can of worms. I don't know if this is really the place to be talking about this because I'm really looking forward to the day when this whole situation kind of cools down and we can all discuss it with more level heads. Because I'm seeing a lot of people that are still kind of up in arms about this, and you know, trying to fan the flames when everyone is still really excitable and not really thinking with a cool head about it is not going to help. Um, yeah, I'm not going to name any names here, but I've seen a lot of people that are still like just screaming their heads off about the whole situation, screaming about Trump and screaming about Hillary, and like that's not productive, guys. It's really not. But my thoughts about Trump. Well, if you've been following me, uh, over the course of this election, I've mentioned it a couple times, I guess. I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not. I wouldn't call myself. I wouldn't say that I was pro Hillary as much as I was anti Trump. Um, I found him to be not the kind of person that I wanted as a president, personally. Um, in my eyes, Trump is pretty obviously a bully and a xenophobe and a sexist and a racist. And I look at him and I think that this is not the kind of person that I want to have the nuclear codes. It's the idea just made me very uneasy. Um, but he's going to be the new president now, so we got to deal with it. And I'm not thrilled about that. And I'm not saying that Hillary would have been a fantastic choice because I don't. We were not spoiled for good options here. Um, the best thing I could say about Hillary throughout the whole campaign was that I viewed her as the lesser of two evils. Uh, so if you put a gun to my head, I would have said I would have gone for Hillary, but they're just there just wasn't really a good option here, guys. There really wasn't. Um, so now we got Trump. I don't know if he's going to build the wall or not. I don't know if he's going to continue with this fear mongering that he's been doing. It's kind of an ugly situation right now. I know a lot of people are unhappy about this. I've seen videos of protesters, of hundreds, maybe thousands of women walking through the streets of New York to protest at Trump Tower. I've heard. I've read some articles about teenagers in the West Coast walking out of a high school class in protest of Trump's presidency. I've heard stories about people protesting outside the White House. Um, and again, I'm hoping that cooler heads can prevail ultimately, because I know Trump is not the sort of person that a lot of people want as a president, because of his attitude and his views on certain things. But even if some people view it as hate, trying to counter hate with more hate is not going to solve anything. That's making the problem worse. And if you want to protest Trump's presidency, and believe me, I would understand if you did. There are nonviolent ways of doing that. There are diplomatic ways of doing that. Um, I would I would strongly urge anyone who wants to protest Trump's presidency to try to rise above all that, above the violence and the negativity that this has spurned, and try to turn that into something else. Try to make something positive out of that. You know, you can sign petitions or write letters, or you can uh, write blogs, or just encourage people to just be nicer to everybody. You know, because I mean, I've seen videos and read articles and stuff about violence happening at Trump rallies, or or Trump even encouraging stuff like that. And maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. I don't know. I wasn't there, but we can be better than that. I think we as a people should try to be better than that, and especially if we've got a president elect who may or may not be setting a good example. You know, um, I guess I'm going off on a tangent here, but uh, you know, it's just it's just a crappy situation right now, because he's not an ideal president that a lot of us imagined, and not that Hillary would have been much better. I think she was probably the safer choice. Um, the stock market certainly thought so on Tuesday night. But now we got one. We got something, and we got to make the best of it. So let's try to be our best when dealing with this situation. Let's not, descend to the level of the mob. Um, because even though there are reasons to be upset, I think getting so upset that we do things that are not going to be productive is bad for everybody. If that makes any sense. I think I'm starting to repeat myself here, but you know, so far, at least for the last couple of days, Trump has kind of kept his nose clean, and I don't think he's said anything objectionable. It looks like he's been acting humble about the whole experience. So there's that. And no new information has come to light about him, grabbing women by their genitals, and I don't think he's had any new people accusing him of sexual assault. So good. I guess we got to give him a shot now. But like I said, just don't let an unfortunate situation turn you into an ugly person. You know. By ugly, I mean don't let it turn you into a shitty person or a bad person. Okay, if you're upset, I get it. Just find a way to express that anger in a constructive way. Don't attack people or insult people. Um, let's try to channel that anger into something else. And probably just move on, or else I'm just going to be rambling about this for a while. Fox is looks like Fox is going to do an X-Men reboot built around Deadpool. That's not the way I heard it. I heard they were continuing the Deadpool franchise and just rebooting the X-Men as something else, uh, which is probably warranted at this point. Um, yeah, I know they're actively developing Deadpool 2 and 3. Now they're talking about your 2 is going to have Cable and Domino, and 3 is going to have X Force. And I would really prefer that X Force have their own movie before they show up as Deadpool's sidekicks in a Deadpool movie. Um, but we'll see. I would really like to see X Force in a movie though. That'd be cool. But they're also working on a New Mutants movie. I don't know how that's going to work because there are a number of New Mutants characters that are also in X Force. So, and they're going to have to pick and choose which characters are in which. And yeah, it looks like Bryan Singer is maybe done with the X-Men franchise, and so they're just going to reboot it as something. And you know what? Okay, that's all right. I think generally Singer's X-Men movies have been good. I know that a lot of people had problems with Apocalypse. I'm not saying Apocalypse was a perfect movie. I personally enjoyed the film, although I understand why some people had problems with it. But I do acknowledge that while Singer has been largely responsible for those movies not turning out a hell of a lot worse, the franchise is getting really continuity heavy. So if they just want to start fresh with a new series of X-Men films that doesn't have to worry about tons and tons and tons of backstory from previous movies, I'm fine with that. So yeah, they want to do that. You want go ahead. The Democrats will do their absolute best to get the best Democrat to try to beat Trump in 4 years, because most, like in my opinion, Trump will last one term. I'm not expecting a second term. Yeah, I think one term for Trump is what most people are saying. Yeah. Um, yeah. The stocks came back huge recently. Only the stocks and companies that invested heavily in Mexico collapsed. Uh, well, that's kind of a weird situation. Um, because Tuesday night, the Dow was apparently as low or lower than it was on 9/11, which is kind of scary. I think it was all the uncertainty causing that. And apparently, a lot of people were predicting that stocks were just going to crater on Wednesday. Turns out, they were up a lot. Now there was some pullback today. I think either fuck, I don't know. I think either the Dow was up and the S&P was down, or the Dow was down and the S&P was up. It was one of those. One of them tanked and the other one is up. Um, so I guess the situation with the stock market is not as bad as a lot of people were predicting. Some people still got hurt by it though. Uh, let's see. Speaking of Mexico, already called and said they want to negotiate paying for the wall, so it looks like that's happening regardless. Did they? I hadn't heard about that. I've seen interviews of the Mexican president saying that they were not paying for the wall, so who knows? Uh, Do you think Brock versus Goldberg 2 at Survivor Series will be bad like Hogan versus Warrior at Havoc 98? I don't know if anything could be as bad as Hogan versus Warrior at Havoc 98 could be. Jesus Christ. I expect this will be better than that. I think Brock and Goldberg will be more motivated this time because Goldberg's got a wife and son. I've never seen him wrestle, so I think he's going to want to perform well for them at least, even if he's green. And I think Brock will probably want to put on a better show than he did in the first match because in the first match he didn't give a shit. Here, maybe he's gotten the MMA bug out of his system now, and he's like, okay, so I'm doing the wrestling thing. This is this is where my money's coming from now. So let's at least put in a decent effort here. And maybe they both want to redeem themselves from the last match. So I think I'm not expecting a great match, but I'm not expecting a bad one. I mean, I do like Brock, just watching Brock beat on people. So will it be Hogan Warrior bad? I don't think so. Thoughts on the reveal of the DCC's identities on tonight's show? You know what? Ask me in the Impact stream. I have more thoughts on that then. I'm still processing right now. The NASDAQ was down, but the rest were at record highs for the last, I believe, 20 years. Oh, yeah, the NASDAQ, yeah. You know what? Hang on. Hold on, this is bugging me. Because I was looking at that earlier. Well, you think I remember. I was watching it closely enough. Yeah, the NASDAQ was down, the Dow was up, and the S&P was up. So, yeah, the NASDAQ is the one that really took it in the ass. Everything else is okay. As racist as Trump is supposed to be, I've had my life threatened by white Hillary shills 3 times in 2 days since the election. Just saying. Yeah, okay. I've never said that racism doesn't go both ways. You know, that there are ethnic people who can be just as intolerant of white people. And you know, there are Hillary supporters who can be very, how do I say this? Can be very strong-willed and very forceful in their opinions, in their dislike of Trump. So there's assholes on both sides of this, I guess is what I'm saying. That's why I encourage everybody to try to find a better way to express yourselves when it comes to this topic. Try to be bigger people than the assholes out there, because the people acting like assholes, they're not helping. The election happened. It's over. Trump won. Hillary lost. It's okay to be upset. Just don't let your hard feelings turn you into a bad person. Like I said, there are better ways to go about this. If you want to be upset, be upset. Just express it in a healthy way. It's not going to reflect badly on you or anyone else. You're a kinder person than like 98% of the world. Thank you. I try to be. There was a time when I wouldn't have given an answer like that. I used to be really angry about a lot of things, especially as a teenager. I guess I've mellowed out since then. But yeah, I mean, I've seen. I guess I've seen a few things now, and I've seen a lot of people just acting like complete assholes about this whole situation. I'm like, why? It's over. It happened. you don't need to perpetuate this. Can we all just let it go and try to move forward here? Maybe it's because I'm kind of removed from that whole thing. Uh, I have this kind of phobia of mob mentality, so I try to avoid that when, if at all possible. So if I'm like on the outside looking in, I can kind of keep a I can kind of stay objective about that, and maybe that's what we all should try to do. Just saying. And I think that's about it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to ask. And yeah, okay. So I guess that'll be it for tonight. Um, Impact stream should be on Saturday. Unless I have to work, I'm crossing my fingers. Because I was told by this guy I worked for told me numerous times that I would not have to work Saturday, and now he's saying, "Oh, I might need you on Saturday." So it's kind of a bullshit situation. But I don't expect to have to work on Saturday, but you never know. If so, it'll probably be on. It'll push the stream to Sunday again. So thanks everybody for joining me. Shorter stream than usual tonight because we only had two things to talk about, but thanks for tuning in just the same. I expect the Impact stream to be on Saturday as usual. If not, as always, there will be a notice on Twitter about it. So follow me on Twitter for updates. I'm at the real FK9. Follow the TNA Heelcast. Give them some more views. I guessed on there, on a semi-regular basis. I'm not on the most recent episode, but the one before it. So go check that out. TNAsylum.net. They're also on YouTube. They've got a page here. Just search for TN Asylum Heelcast, and it comes right up. Subscribe to those guys because they put on a good show. And like I said, just don't let anger about the election turn you into an asshole. Just let's try to be better people because we may not have a person leading our country setting a good example for a while. So yeah, peace out, and I'll talk to you guys in a few days. Later.